Shock Monkey Radio is entertainment for adults, by adults, and the views and opinions expressed here do not reflect upon the sponsors or FXBG Public Radio. For additional information, please refer to the United States Bill of Rights. Stand warned.
Tune the madness down the rage. The world's a jungle stage by stage. Shock monkey radio. Feel the static, let it go. Monkey radio. Twist it down and lose control.
You know, I do videos sometimes where I talk about how much I hate horses or how much I hate tomatoes. And, you know, let's be honest, there's a lot of things I could hate on, you know, but those seems to be the most popular things when I talk about hating horses or I talk about hating tomatoes. People seem to love it. They think it's great. You know, I also hate onions, by the way, since we're on the topic of like vegetables, because, you know, tomatoes aren't really a fruit or a vegetable, but I hate onions too. You know, I call them rot lilies. All right, because they're related to the lily. Anyway, it's sneaky. The onion is quite sneaky. Like, for example, you go to Subway or something like that, and you go get sub, and you're just like, I want lettuce, blah, blah, blah. You know, normal stuff. No tomato, no onion, just some lettuce, mayonnaise, you know, that kind of thing. But onions, sometimes onions can fall into the lettuce, and nobody can spot them. Nobody can spot them. And they end up in your lettuce, and you're having your sandwiches like, boy, this is good. It's everything I asked for and nothing extra. And you take a bite, and then there's one onion in there. Destroys your entire sandwich. I hate onions, too. Just like I hate tomatoes. Well, maybe about as much as I hate tomatoes, but not nearly as much as I hate horses. But I don't know why you're all so interested in the things that I hate. Why are these the things that are popular? Is that the only thing I'm good at hating stuff? Why don't you ever talk about what happens at the end of the show when I tell everybody I love them? You tell them about that? Do you like and share that? Do you even stay that long in the show? I don't know. Food for thought. Welcome to Shock Monkey Radio. I'm your host, The Madman. I have a Patreon. Please go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would very much appreciate that. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Follow me on social media up there above the Lord thy God. So, before we talk about and loathe the Lord created horses, I want to talk about like a memory I had from Philly when I went to Philadelphia in the Navy. It was part of a, family day cruise thing where my dad came with us to Philadelphia, and he took a bus from there home, and then from Philadelphia we went to New York, and New York to Halifax during the 4th of July season of year 2000. But my friends were all like hanging out. We were just hanging out near. Most of the time when you're in the Navy, you get off the boat, the first thing you do is find the closest bar, and that's what we did. We found a Fat Tuesdays that had like a Philly cheesesteak place below it, and we're sitting up there drinking, ice drinks in late June in the heat of Philly, and eating cheesesteaks. It was fantastic. It was everything we thought we wanted. And this was one time we were walking down the street. This is a really good memory. It just popped up. We were walking down the street. There's, traffic everywhere. And there's this one guy trying to force his way into traffic. Another guy yells at him. And we're walking by, heading over to the Fat Tuesdays where we were drinking at. And this one guy yells at him, "Go back to Jersey, you son of a bitch." And the other guy leans out the window and screams, "Welcome to the city of brotherly love." And we were laughing about that interaction all weekend. It's just, Philly was a great town. You could bring up those pictures of us. So we all hanging out this bar, but a group of us broke off because my friend Jason, left to right to top to bottom is Ben, myself, Charlie, Mike, Matthew, Jason, and Jamie. So my dad overheard Jason say, "Man, we're in Philly. I'd love to run up the Rocky Steps." And so that's us at the Rocky Steps, the group of us that broke off to go check it out. And my dad was like, "Okay, fine." So he walked down to the corner of the street, found a bus schedule, brought it back. Here's the Rocky Steps. This is the bus we got to get on. And so we all got on a bus and went down to the Rocky Steps. And then the second picture you bring up, a few of us ran up the Rocky Steps, 4 of us, Ben, myself, Jason, and Jamie. I don't know why the others didn't go. I don't know, they're like, eh. So I'm on vacation. I'm on liberty. I don't want to run. So we went and did that, and most every other port I visited, it was just getting off the ship, finding the closest bar, and drinking my face off. And one of the guys I knew, he had a girlfriend that was on the ship, and we stopped at Key West one time, and he's like, yeah, she and I are going to go do some snorkeling, maybe some scuba diving while we're here in Key West. And I was like, okay, whatever, man. I'm going to go drink my face off at the bar because I don't have a girlfriend. And I'm going to keep doing that until I get one. Here we are, pushing 50. Anyway, it was just an interesting memory because we had the America's 250th birthday, and Philadelphia was a city where it all kicked off, you know what I mean? And so, and I think about Philly today and many of these great American cities today, and the immense history that is contained within them. We need to protect that. And that means arresting people and keeping bad people in jail and getting these people who are not supposed to be in this country out and cleaning up the streets. These liberal judges and stuff like that need to go. Anyway, it's a whole complicated process that if I were a tyrant that ran the entire United States, I would fix that up real quick. But hey, good memories. Good memories. 26 years ago. So I was talking with somebody. Maybe it was the Lord. Maybe it's just a friend who likes to debate me on these issues. It wasn't you. But he said, horses kind of prove the existence of God. And I was like, okay, sell me on this one. And he's like, yeah, horses are useless. And they kind of always have been. The only thing that they're useful for is any purpose that humans put them to. Like whether it's moving like rock, or something like that. Otherwise, the horses would just be wandering around, be like giant lawnmowers, That's what they would be doing. Running off in packs, running off in herds, stomping crops and stuff like that. But humans captured them and put them to a purpose for thousands of years. God created horses. In fact, I think what God was going for is, this may be controversial because it involves evolution. What God was going for is he wanted to create a living biological being with a soul. Us. He wanted to make us. So he squeezed all the matter into a ball and went, poof, blew it up. And it says, what we're going for is human being. Living creature, living biological creature with a soul. And, stuff starts, rock starts moving around, starts bumping into each other, the magma, volcanoes, and stuff's bumping into like comets. Oh, there's rock everywhere flying around. And then all of a sudden, stable orbits develop, the body of the mass of water, or particularly water planets that had water. They find stable orbits. They start, developing life inside the amino acids. The amino acids start evolving over time as conditions improve on the planet over millions of years. And new creatures spawn up every day. And the world's not quite ready for humans just yet, but we're going to need all these things that humans are going to need. We're going to need strawberries. We're going to need apples. We're going to need cows. We're going to need chickens. We're going to need horses. Like, what do we need horses for? They're pretty useless of a concept. I mean, I'm looking here at the prospectus or the the design for this creature. Seems pretty useless. And it's like, yeah, but, at one point humans are going to be able to capture and harness that energy of horses to the point that they even say in their automobiles, even long after horses should have been killed off, that they refer to the power of their vehicles by horsepower. Because that's how much humanity is going to use what would otherwise be a completely useless creature. I find that pretty inspiring. I don't know, more reinforces my faith with God than it does or changes my mind about horses. After all, God made spiders, houseflies, and I stomp and kill those all the time, But here's the thing: I don't hate spiders. I appreciate what they do. They actually serve a purpose. Without spiders, there'd be way more other types of insects running around. Spiders have a purpose. Houseflies don't have a purpose. However, I don't hate houseflies. I hate horses. And I believe in God. And I think God put it here for us. The horse is here for us. And he gave us the intellectual capacity to be able to realize that these creatures are no longer necessary. We have built machines that could do far more than what these horses could do. Now what do we do with them? Race them for fun? Romantic strolls around a lake? We don't need them anymore. And I think God understands what I mean by that. But there's man propels us, God dispels us. Is it up to us to destroy the horses, or just continue using them for our sick entertainment purposes? I'm talking about being merciful to the horses. That was a fun conversation I had with myself. Anyway, let's do the coin of the week. Last time we are in Iraq. Sorry, we're going to say goodbye to Iraq after this. Pretty cool. I was green screen picking it up some a bit. Good thing I got the pictures. Anyway, this is 5,000 Iraqi dinars. Spit out this accent again. This is a genuine 5,000 Iraqi dinar banknote from Central Bank of Iraq. Let me see if I can reload this so it doesn't have that. Reload. Let me see if it doesn't have that accent. Because I was clipping the video last week and I was like, that's annoying. I can't do that anymore. Okay, so the key features, we got it here. Key features visible in your images. The front side, the birth side up there up top. Side with Arabic text and waterfall. The image is Gully Ali Beg. It's a waterfall in the Kurdistan region of northern Iraq near Erbil. It is a dramatic gorge with a waterfall representing Iraq's natural beauty. It's a beautiful planet no matter where on this earth. You could be like the most horrible country in the world and still beautiful. Like even China is like, they'll have like beautiful waterfalls and stuff like that. And it's like, this is nice. This is a nice world we live on. Denomination is 5,000 Arabic numerals with 5,000 dinars equivalent in text. Central Bank of Iraq in Arabic at the top. The color scheme is primarily blue, purple, multicolored underprint with intricate patterns. Yeah, it's wild. No, it's also like larger than the 1,000 we had last week. So like, I don't know, like 30% larger. It's interesting. It's like, how big are your wallets in Iraq? Okay, the back reverse side with the English text is central image is the Al-Uqaydir fortress, also known as the Palace of Uqaydir. In the 8th century Abbasid era, did I say that correctly? Abbasid era desert fortress palace southwest of Karbala. It's a well-preserved historical site. The English text says Central Bank of Iraq in 5,000 dinars, 5,000 large numerals, blue, white tones, different than the front, with just those two. The design was introduced in 2003, 2004 in the post-Saddam Hussein era. It's been updated over time with enhanced security features. Do you think counterfeiting goes on a lot in Iraq? Yeah, it has a security stripe. It's a high common, in Iraq, it's a common high denomination bill used for everyday transactions due to the currency's value. Security features include a watermark, head of an Arabian horse. I don't know if I want to look for that. That's gross. Color shifting ink. See what I mean? Like these horse worshippers. Every single society worships them at once. You know what just happened? The computer locked up. Yeah, it's got security thread, color shifting ink, and that glows under blacklight and stuff like that. So I got to pull this up on my phone. Sorry about this. This laptop's dying on me. Please go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I would very much appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Help me find a new laptop. No, I know the show's running. I'm looking at it. I'm doing it. It's happening right now. When will then be now? Son of a gun. How do I find it? I'm never on my phone on this. There we go, behind the scenes. All right, find the article again. Because I need to tell you what it's worth, right? All right, so. More. Sorry about that. I'll cut it out. I'll cut it in the video. It's worth $3.80, $3.82 compared to the U.S. dollar. In Iraq, it's high denomination bill used for everyday transaction due to the value. Yeah, okay. So we got it all. That's the coin of the week. Sorry about that. We'll bring some coins back. Yeah, that sucks. All right, you want to do a movie review? See if I can do this movie review while I'm switching over to the laptop. So we're going to do the 1999 movie Blast from the Past with Brendan Fraser and Alicia Silverstone. Well, she's still a good-looking woman, but back in the day, man, Alicia Silverstone, what a fox, man. Okay, so speaking of which, Firefox open. All right, so let me give you the gist of the plot. There's a very intelligent professor at Caltech named Calvin Weber. It's the height of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he has built, over the last few years, a fallout shelter underneath his house in suburban California. And he gets freaked out because of the Cuban Missile Crisis, and so he gets the family, his pregnant wife and himself, down into the fallout shelter, and just as like a precaution, and then all of a sudden a U.S. military plane crashes into his house, and he thinks that the bomb has been dropped in Los Angeles, and so they got to ride it out for 30 years before the radioactive fallout's gone. And so he has everything. He's a brilliant man. He's got everything they need down there for 30 years, and he delivers the baby. They start raising their son, this Brendan Fraser, who is their son, named Adam Weber, who they named for obvious reasons. And so 30 years pass, the locks open, and Calvin steps out into the world of 1999. And he's completely shocked by it, to say the least. I don't want to spoil anything if you haven't seen this movie, but you should see this movie. And so he freaks out, and he comes back down into the fallout shelter. He tells them what he's seen, and he kind of freaks out, has a little bit of a cardiac incident, and they're going to need more supplies. He said, we're going to lock it up for another 30 years and let society sort itself out. Apparently it's been nothing but chaos since the bomb. But we need supplies to last another 30 years. So the idea is we're going to take Brendan Fraser, the son, to go up and get the supplies they need. That's the plot. And he's 30 years old. He kind of, I was hoping when I'm up there, if I meet a nice girl, and they're like, well, yeah, if you find a nice young girl, bring her on down, especially if she's from the valley. His mom's real. Those girls from the valley are just a little bit nicer. Anyway, so what this movie is about is really, it's a good old-fashioned American way to raise children. Both a mother and a father, very active in the child's life in terms of education and doing everything. His father teaches him how to box, his mother teaches him how to dance, daily classes, learning multiple languages. It's raising an intelligent person, homeschooling him, if you will. And he's incredibly capable, intelligent, polite, kind. Yeah, he may come to the surface and say things like, oh, my stars, a Negro. How do you do, ma'am? But you can't have it all. And sure, he may think that a nuke was dropped on Los Angeles, but he still comes out of the shelter and he's gawping at the sky like it's somebody who's never seen it before, because he never has. He's got this childlike wonder about the world because he's never seen a little girl, never seen a Negro, never seen any of these things before. And he's just so excited, looking at the world with childlike eyes, with that kind of innocence, and just doing things like staying outside when it's raining. To experience the world. He's a kind of guy that believes that everything is a miracle. And that's what, we used to raise children to believe, is that, there's a God in this universe, and it's beautiful, and it's miraculous. Everything about it is worth defending and doing your duty for God and so forth, and preserving the world. And so his parents don't think he's safe on the surface, so they go to get him supplies. They have him go get supplies. And in the process, he realizes his parents didn't have enough money because they didn't account for inflation, I suppose. But he brought his baseball card collection, which he was able to sell very easily for thousands upon thousands of dollars. It's like the first scene, and the guy comes in and is like, these are much older than the ones you have in the window, but I was wondering maybe if I can get a few bucks for these. How much do you want for this Mickey Mantle rookie card? Tell you what, I'll give you $20 for the whole lot. What do you think? Those are smaller bills, right? And so Alicia Silverstone helps him from getting, taken for a ride on that deal, and starts getting involved in his life, because he's weird because he's nice and polite and he's naive about things like homosexuality and pornography, naive about many things, and so doesn't get sarcasm and so forth. And he's supposed to be getting these supplies, and there's a scene where he's trying to go get burgers, and it's my favorite scene in the entire movie, because it's what I would say it's the pinnacle of tight, hilarious writing. All right, so Adam goes into this grocery store. He needs to get a bunch of hamburgers for his parents and himself to stay in the shelter for another 30 years. And so he comes up to the butcher at the grocery store, and he's like, "Excuse me, do you have hamburgers?" And he goes, "Fresh or frozen?" Come on, frozen. And he's like, "Yeah, we have frozen." And he's like, "Okay, I'm going to need 300 pounds of hamburger patties, 300. And he's like, "You can get an order." And the guy jumps in, you can get an order that large delivered to your home. "Really?" Adam responds. "Although it just occurs to me, I don't know where my home is." "Do you know where I live?" "No, I don't." "Will you excuse me?" "Gladly." And Adam goes off. And it's my favorite scene because, for example, that guy, that butcher, he grew up in the world that Adam comes from, but he is also jaded, but he's still like everyone else on the surface. He's jaded in a way that Brendan Fraser and his family are not. And so, but even he remembers an era where we spoke to each other that way. And and you could get your smart-ass comments out even in a very polite way. And that's what I really like, is because he's also getting on people's cases for, taking the Lord's name in vain and blaspheming. You can get on me about that. People have gotten on me about that. Sorry. But that's the world. That's the world he comes from, and it's admittedly a better world. So Adam is looking for a wife, and Eve is kind of resistant to that fact. Like many people who were raised above ground, many women who are raised above ground, they think where everyone is getting divorced, she is so she's pensive and resistant to that kind of commitment. But Adam was raised right, and he knew what he wanted out of life. And very few women, even in 1999 and beyond, they don't know what to make of a man like that. They think there's something sinister underneath. It's like, she's like, "You said he wants to take me underground." That's like Silence of the Lambs. Like, he's so proper and polite, and she calls him a gentleman and calls her a lady. He has perfect table manners. It's like, it doesn't sit right. People aren't like this anymore. They could be again, though. That's the point. And if you raise a kid right, you could have a child like Adam, and so that's what I mean. It's like Eve has never seen a man like that before. So, Blast from the Past, 1999 movie, 12 of 13 stars. The only thing I would fault it on is that, which is hard to say because it kind of really works in the movie, is that Christopher Walken and Sissy Spacek kind of chew the scenery a little bit. But it kind of works because they're supposed to be from this weird, not only is Calvin intelligent, he's also, like many intelligent people, quite eccentric. And so they're kind of, I don't know, it's they're chewing the scenery a little bit, and I was like, but it works. So I kind of feel guilty for taking that away. And speaking of Calvin and his genius, he had a real good point at the end of the movie where he's talking about what happened with Russia, the fall of the Soviet Union. He's like, "I bet they even asked the West for aid." Yeah, I think they did. Yeah, commies. And he starts pacing out another fallout shelter, as well he should, because after all, he was brilliant. And communism is still a problem to this very day. 12 of 13 stars, Blast from the Past. All right. Refill my water here. The water of life. You know, I was baptized in water. Oh, that's how they do it for everyone? I thought I was special. Anyway. Anyway. Let's go to the next movie review, Fist Fight, 2017 movie. I like this a lot better than I thought I would. All right. So here's the setup. It's the last day of school and senior prank day. And the seniors are pulling pranks left and right around the school. And I'll be honest, like 50% of the laughs in this movie are just the pranks the students are doing. And it just makes me feel good that there was probably a bunch of writers sitting in a room, sitting there discussing what kind of pranks. We need like a collection of pranks to go into this movie just to be like sight gags everywhere. It's like, okay, what kind of things could we do? We were mischievous high school kids again. That must have been fun to write. Yeah, it shows how they spend like a lot of time thinking about this day, but it also kind of shows like all the pranks, how unruly the school is. So obviously the two main characters are Ice Cube and Charlie Day. One is an unhinged history teacher, and the other's a too nice of a guy English teacher. I'll let you figure out which one's which. There's an incident that happens, no spoilers yet, and Ice Cube is fired, but he blames Charlie Day's character and tells him, it's like, end of the school day, outside, in the parking lot, we're fighting. Classic stuff, right? And that is the end of the first act. All right, and the third act is clearly defined. Fantastic use of this premise, by the way, because there's like the second act was had like the time's ticking, you know, kind of thing. There's a lot of panic and insanity in the second act. Jillian Bella's in this movie, and she keeps talking about wanting to bang students, and I don't think that's really funny because, you know, that happens. And so, but I mean, if Christina Hendricks were my French teacher, I might have a different opinion on that. She's in this too, and I think she might have been pregnant during the filming of it. She was wearing really baggy stuff, but still, you know, really pretty. All right, so, but during the course of like the second act and into the third act, you start to understand why, oh shucks, I lost my place. Why Ice Cube wants this fight. His name is Strickland in the movie. Great name. He wants to fight Charlie because no one is being held accountable. And he's having this conversation with Charlie Day at one point, and he kind of breaks all this down because no one is being held accountable, you know. The students aren't being held accountable for what they're doing. Teachers aren't being held accountable. The principal's not being held accountable, and the superintendent's not being held accountable. And it's a mess, and I'm pissed off that nobody's being held accountable. So now I just want to, you know, fight you. And so, and I like that. I get that. That's kind of a very, very conservative point of view to have. It's like, this is getting out of control. I'm pissed off that nobody's doing anything about it. And as for Charlie's character, his arc involves him learning to stand up and take your licks like a man. I like that as well. There's this one scene where, what's her name? Jackie? She had a show or something for a while. She plays a 911 operator. And Charlie Day's character, he calls 911 because it's like, yeah, I'm about to be assaulted. You know how I talk. I'm about to be assaulted by some guy I work with. He said he's going to kick my ass at the end of the day. And she's laughing at him on the phone line, getting all the other 911 people around to hear this conversation. It's like, she's like, learn, take your ass whooping like a man or something. She said. And I like that concept too, because, you know, when it comes to fighting, and this is what I think is like, obviously there's parallels here between like, with Friday. And so, and I like the message of Friday is like, you know, put down the weapon and fight like a man. You know, you win some, you lose some, but you stood your ground and you take your licks. You win the respect of your opponent. And that's kind of the point. It's like, you know, you lost Ice Cube's respect, and so now you need to stand up like a man in order to earn it back. That's the whole point of like mutual combat, if you ask me. It's like two men fighting, you know. But what I don't like, as for the fight itself, improvising weapons, I really don't like that. I think that's a deal breaker. That's an automatic win, if you ask me, and you deserve an ass kicking for trying to pull a weapon into it. I really don't like that, and I think they should have did that differently. Like maybe Ice Cube says, No weapons. Yeah. So, yeah, there's plenty of, a few Friday references, and I guess they work. Let's, yeah, I almost said, this is Friday. No, this is Fist Fight, 2017 movie, 10 of 13 stars. In terms of comedy writing, it's about, fairly average. It's more of a, like, 7, 8 star script, but the casting was so perfect, and these characters were just so well performed that it really took it to another level a couple of times. And I have to tell you, there's an honorable mention to the performance of Kumail Nanjiani. I guess he's a Pakistani-American comedian. But he plays Mehar, who is the security guard, and he had the absolute best part in the movie, if you ask me. If I wanted a role in that movie, that would be the role I'd want. Because he has the funniest lines, most interesting character in terms of, like, his priorities. And so I want to tell you, I want to spoil some of the jokes, but I just keep an eye on the school security officer, because that stuff he says is hilarious. Let's get into the news worth knowing. All right, let's check in on the war, such as it is. Rubio warns Iran of consequences, and U.S. keeps door open to talks amid ongoing strikes. All right, so U.S. CENTCOM completed the latest wave of strikes against Iranian military targets at 8:15 Eastern Time on Tuesday, July 21st. President Donald Trump on Wednesday attended the dignified transfer of 4 U.S. service members killed in action in the Middle East last week. Secretary of State Marco Rubio told Asian leaders at the ASEAN summit in the Philippines on Wednesday that the U.S. remains willing to negotiate with Iran, but warned that there will be consequences if Iran continues to violate its commitments. All right, so the service members came home, 2 men, 2 women. I don't like that. I don't like women in danger. That makes, bothers me. Trump warns Houthis after shipping blockade threat. Okay. Rubio accuses Iran of flying IRGC personnel into Yemen as Houthi threat escalates. Yeah, so they're spreading out. These Iranian, that's all they got left is these, Hamas and Hezbollah and the Houthis. And that's how, that's, I don't know, those are the monkeys they've been feeding the longest, you know what I mean? So they're allies in those regions, and so they're pressing everything they got. And unfortunately, I think Trump was talking about, like, we'll start taking out bridges for each vessel taken by Iran in the Strait. And I really don't like this incrementalism. It didn't work in Vietnam, you know what I mean? If you think about strategy at any kind of level, you ever play video games? Anyway, you destroy your enemy. You beat the crap out of them, you put your foot on their neck, and you say, you surrender, and then this is what's going to happen afterwards. Unfortunately, you farted around on this Trump too much, and so now it's going to get to the point where you got to pummel the hell out of him with weapons, and then eventually troops are going to have to go in. Sorry. And unfortunately, it's just another Muslim nation, and I don't know what's going to happen when you try to fix a Muslim nation and retain Islam. It doesn't work. So I don't really know what to make about this. I'm just like, kill them all, destroy them all. It's like, until they get the point. And I guess there's a reason I'm not in that job. That's why I'm doing this. It's not up to me. Someone up there in the higher ups, when I was in the Navy, did a psychological profile on me, and it's like, not that guy. All right, so let's go to the next story. Hegseth turns tables on Democrats as sparks fly during hearing clash. I put this on you. Senator Gary Peters accused Hegseth of lacking a plan to win the war as $1.5 trillion budget requests faces scrutiny. Department of War Pete Hegseth blasted Democratic senators at the hearing on Tuesday, clashing forcefully with accusations that the United States has demonstrated a failure of leadership in its war with Iran, among other areas. Senator Gary Peters, Democrat from Michigan, raised skepticism with Hegseth, pressing him on whether the administration had a plan to bring the protracted war with Iran to a close. Peters accused Hegseth of leaving the country in a worse position than when the war began. Quote, you don't have a strategy. You don't have a long-term plan to actually win this war. Win the war. The men and women are going to be able to do it, but they need leadership. When will you show leadership? He said. Despite promises to end the conflict with Iran within 60 days and multiple attempts to broker a peace deal, the U.S. remains in a struggle with Iran over the control of the Strait of Hormuz, a key waterway in the Middle East that acts like a bottleneck for much of the world's oil trade. The U.S. first began the war in joint strikes. We're all caught up with this, right? Okay. Hegseth fired back at Peters, pointing out the Democrats have allowed hesitations with the administration's border enforcement policies to also extend to the funding the government, including service members. Quote, when you show leadership and stand up for to your fellow Democrats who won't fund the troops, who play partisan politics while you don't give us the money, you want to stand up here and talk about the troops, Hegseth asked? You don't want to show any political courage to actually fund our department because you have a Trump derangement syndrome and you won't commit to anything meaningful, so I put this on you, Senator. As part of the criticisms, Hegseth said he believes the hesitance of Democrats has shown the U.S. armed forces is stretched from before Trump's time in office. I mean, quote, the Biden administration ignored hypersonics, Hegseth said, referring to the missiles' capability of traveling faster than sound, a breakthrough China achieved in 2019. They decided to pretend that the technology didn't exist and we shouldn't invest in it. These are things, and I don't know what Lloyd Austin did for 4 years. I really don't. All right, that's all I want. That's a hilarious quote. That's true, and when you're talking about failures of military, the Biden administration and the pullout in Afghanistan, nightmarish. This Iraq war is pristine by comparison. You know what I mean? And yeah, I have some problems with it, and I do think that, you should end this war, and that means, lots of lead on target. You can't incrementalize your way to this victory because, they're zealots. They think that even if you kill them, they're going to heaven. Prove them wrong. Give them a ticket to heaven. See what happens when they get there. Let's go to the next story. Because we need to be like Christians all over the world. I mean, this is getting bad. I mean, even in the West, they'll be like people praying. Like, for example, people praying in America near an abortion clinic. A Planned Pregnancy Center. I mean, it's more strict in England, but in the U.S., that's insane. It's like people will say something. Maybe even call the cops on you if you do that. And it's irritating. It's like this war on Christianity's got to go. Nigerian pastor highlighted by Trump says he's next after militia kills his relatives. Reverend Ezekiel Dakomo, says attackers targeted his family compound in Plateau State while searching for him. This is from Johannesburg. A Nigerian pastor, highlighted by President Trump on social media, says that 9 members of his family have been killed. The minister is an outspoken critic for the killing of Christians by radicalized Muslim members of the Fulani militia. Reverend Ezekiel Dakomo now says that the same militia has issued a death threat against him. Dakomo is a regional leader of the Church of Christ in Nations in Nigeria's Middle Belt. The State Department is a leading U.S. nonprofit Christian organization have demanded the Nigerian government take more action to stop what the State Department describes to Fox News Digital as a shocking level of violence against Christians, end quote. Multiple sources reported 9 of his extended family members were killed in an attack at the family compound in the Rayom district of the Plateau State on July 12th. A 2-month-old baby is said to be among those killed. The attackers were allegedly looking for Dakomo, reportedly asking as they arrived, "Where's the father of the house?" adding, "Today you will learn a hard lesson before opening fire indiscriminately." This past week, he posted on X a few days ago, Fulani herdsmen sent a threatening letter to me and the members of my church. Its message was terrifying. They vowed to attack me and kill me soon, just as they killed 9 of my relatives. Pastor continued, "I know what it means to stand before grieving families whose only crime was refusing to deny Christ." Now they say I will be next. But I ask the world, what is my crime? Is my crime that I'm telling stories of persecuted Christians in Nigeria so the world will not forget them? The Islamist Fulani ethnic militia hate Pastor Ezekiel and targeted him because he is waking up Christians to the reality of what they are facing. Judge Saul, founder of Equipping the Persecuted, told a nonprofit told Fox News Digital. Saul's organization works to end religious persecution in Nigeria, specifically aiding to end radical Islamist violence against Christians. By the end of 2025, Giacomo said he had conducted over 70 mass burials of Christians. Burials have continued this year, with a post highlighted by President Trump showing the pastor presiding over the funeral of some 20 believers. You know, the Muslims in America kind of want that to happen too, here, to us. You know, this is what's coming if we don't get serious about this stuff. All right? It's always been a holy war to Islam. Always. They have always been in a holy war, which allows them to perform taqiyya, which is a lie. They can lie to us, according to their holy text. So until we need to get serious about this, like Thomas Jefferson was. Thomas Jefferson wasn't the kind of guy who wanted to have a big army and a big navy like we got today. Jefferson would be pissed if he looked at our military today. But you know what? He put together a navy and a Marine Corps to go and fight against the Islamists who are raiding American ships and your other European ships, stealing white women and raping them. And you know what? Just like the Tates, Muslim guys stealing white women and raping them. What are they doing in England? Bunch of Muslims stealing white women and raping them. We need to get serious about this. All right. I know we got serious there for a second. Let's get into lighter subjects on the way out of this show. What do you think? I peaked my cortisol level about, 140 or 240. What time is it? Okay. All right, I got it now. For a second, I thought it froze up again. Growing trend of hating men backfires as anti-marriage culture leaves single women losing out. Columnist Ingrid Jacques says liberal ideology, anti-male media fuel a growing divide between the sexes. This is by Madison Colombo. And if you're thinking this is probably an opinion piece, you're right. A growing anti-marriage movement is being fueled by viral TikTok trends and high-profile celebrities painting men as the enemy. But according to a new column, women may ultimately be the ones losing out. In a USA Today op-ed, columnist Ingrid Jacques warned of a rising wave of heteropessimism, defining it as women's growing feelings of disappointment with antagonism towards relationships with men. She argued that viral trends like divorce glow-ups and anti-male literature have actively widened the divide between the sexes. Studies that show that married women are not only happier, but also live longer and earn more than their single counterparts, Jock wrote on Tuesday. This is USA Today. She explained that the media modern woman is increasingly hostile towards traditional relationships, pointing to best-selling books like Yesteryear, which centers on a trad wife influencer. In that novel, Jacques notes, men are reduced to lazy or toxic tropes. Quote, either a man is an idiotic man-baby who lacks ambition and a brain, or he's a quintessential patriarch who pals around with other sexist pigs in the manosphere. Husbands are at one point referred to as freaks. On Amazon, the book's description includes a gripping, electrifying novel that is darkly funny as it is frightening. Yesteryear is a gimlet-eyed look at tradition, fame, faith, and the grand performance of womanhood. The trend decides with falling U.S. marriage and birth rates. Official U.S. Census Bureau data from December shows that 47% of American households in 2025 were married, couples down from nearly 66% 50 years ago. Numbers and more numbers. Jacques linked the shift directly to liberal ideology, blah, 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 far more conservatives, whatever you look at. Wherever you look these days, women who free themselves from the chains of marriage are being celebrated. Jacques wrote. She's highlighted cultural figures who publicly champion singlehood or life after divorce, including Eat, Pray, Love author Elizabeth Gilbert and model Emily Ratajkowski. In April, comedian Leslie Jones criticized marriage, saying that most people she knew who got married are now divorced and arguing that marriage is legalized slavery. Okay. Look, guys don't want to marry. What's the word? There's got to be a word in the English language. Or maybe a series of words. Guys don't want to marry a narcissistic bitch. I think that works. And if you're the kind of woman who would marry some guy, then you divorce him, and then you feel like, well, maybe I made the wrong move here by divorcing him. And women aren't the kind of types of people who would say, maybe I was wrong. Instead, they go to the bookstore and they find a book, or they find a book on Amazon that reinforces their belief that they've done the right thing by destroying a family, by separating children from their father, and so forth. And that's the problem. Like I said in the reviewing Blast from the Past, is like kids aren't being raised correctly by both a mother and a father. And it's because of this tradition of like, oh, divorce is just something you do. And then I got half of his money for the rest of his life, or my life. And it's silly, it's too litigious, and it spits in the face of what marriage should be. All right. And if you're talking about like being single and like the purpose of dating and so forth, it's like a lot of people think that the purpose of dating is like sex, maybe companionship. There's not really this thought of I want to build a life together. It's like, why don't we join our tasks together and build a life together as a team, maybe have some kids, and improve our lives vastly just by getting married, and working hard together towards common goals. Because I was just talking to EK earlier today. It's like I can be doing Shock Monkey Radio all day long, but if I had a harem of Romanian chicks like Andrew Tate or something like that, I'd have them all, instead of, being cam girls, I'd be like doing social media posts for me. Talk about how awesome my show is. Clip my show, like post stuff like that. But I don't have that. I'm single, unfortunately. Unfortunately. And so when it comes to being single, ladies, I mean, you gotta, I think a lot of the focus is based upon attraction and financial well-being of the person you're looking to date. And unfortunately, I think all of you, especially in the social media, like swipe it right and left age of dating, I think most, like 99% of you are only swiping right on the top 10% of guys. And and even in your profile, you'll say something like, I'm so sick of the gym guys. Like, isn't there a normal guy out there? Why can't I find a husband? And it's like, well, you can't find a husband because all of you are basically just throwing yourself at the top 10% of men. And the other 90% of men are lonely because you don't swipe right on them. Can I buy you a drink? And it's like, no, you're not rich enough. Whoo! Am I smart enough? Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? And it's like, you need to lower your bar a little bit, and instead of focusing on things like your financial well-being or how attracted you are to a man, maybe is he kind? Is he nice to waiters? Is he tip well, even when he's been treated poorly at the service? Does he try to make peace around himself and with people around him? Does he bring levity to your life? Or is it more important that he's really good looking and spends like 5 days a week in the gym? Is that what's important? Even young girls that I, probably shouldn't be flirting with, but I think about flirting with them. They're not interested in dating, in marriage at all. They used to be where I hope to meet a really nice man who's financially well off enough to provide for me and my family for the rest of our life. It used to be the thing. But now it's just like, I want to go work and make a lot of money to provide for me and myself for the rest of my life. And I'm just like, what's the Paul Simon song? Let us be lovers and marry our fortunes together. I got some real estate here in my bag. I don't know. I think he was talking about weed or something. It's Paul Simon. Anyway, yeah, quit being narcissistic bitches. I'm sure that's going over well with all the ladies. Let's go to these two funnier stories, and we'll get out of here. So I think this tarps off thing that's been going on at baseball games is getting way out of hand. Because both these upcoming articles involve nudity. So, alleged mime stalker stripped to underwear, covered himself in cooking oil, officials. You know, depression, depression used to be such a problem for me, and then a headline like this makes me glad I didn't hurt myself. Hernan Villagran Lux, 29, facing criminal harassment charges, faints during Massachusetts court appearance. The plot thickens. Not all mimes stay silent. One is now accused of terrorizing women. I guess they do a one-hook, two-hook sentence at the beginning. Anyway, Massachusetts man is known for roaming in a black and white mime costume, is accused of frightening women for months at a popular state park where prosecutors say he allegedly stripped to his underwear, slathered himself in cooking oil, and worked out near female employees before later collapsing in court as the allegations were read out loud. See, there's too much time in that. You need to separate it more. That should have been, collapsing in court should have been the next paragraph. Because all of a sudden he's in the mime, he's a mime, dressed as a mime in the forest, dancing near park employees. Covering himself in cooking oil, and all of a sudden he's passing out. And it's like he's still in cooking oil. That could be a little bit confusing. So Hernan Villagran Lux of Framingham is facing criminal harassment charges after 3 female state Department of Conservation and Recreation employees had up to over 50 encounters over the past 2 months at a Natick State Park near Boston. He had a crush on one or two of them, I'm telling you. It's like, that redhead, man. What are you thinking at home? How do I get her? I know, I'll dress up like a mime, cover myself in cooking oil. That's bound to work. Anyway, it's hard to wrap my head around. Prosecutors said all 3 women knew Lux by name and appearance, and one reported more than 50 encounters with that authorities said escalated over time. That's the one he had a crush on, eventually leaving employees afraid to work around him. Yeah, I bet. The allegations have also sparked warnings on social media where people came across several Massachusetts communities said have recognized the suspect and claim he had approached or followed women on a nearby rail trail. Authorities arrested Lux Sunday night on the Cochituate rail trail after multiple women and park workers alleged he repeatedly approached them, stared at them, and refused to leave despite requests, according to Boston 25 News. I haven't spent a lot of time in Boston, so I don't know all those words up there. Yeah, I've never been to Boston. Okay. And also, if you need to correct me in the comments, by all means, I love that. There's what was I talking about? The radioactive Boy Scout. I kept calling it Americium. And he's like, no, Americium. I appreciate that. I really do. So the women report an extensive number of contacts with the defendant involving him staring at them, smiling in what they describe as a really unnerving and frankly terrifying manner. Framingham District Court Superior Andrew Mange? Or Mange? Yeah, correct me on that. It can't be Mange. That's a horrible last name. He said on during Monday's court hearing. Mange said the encounters became increasingly bold. In one incident, prosecutors allege he stripped down to his underwear, slathered cooking oil all over his body, and began working out right by their staff area. The women also reported Lux repeatedly refused to leave the park after being asked to do so, according to the station. Prosecutors also alleged Lux complimented one employee's appearance, commented on her lips, and refused to leave as she and her co-workers abandoned their work area because they felt unsafe. This guy has absolutely zero game. Boston 25 reported that numerous people posted on social media saying they had spotted a man matching Lux's distinctive mime-like appearance throughout Framingham, Natick, and Wayland. Several women also claim a man fitting the same description approached and followed them on the Cochituate rail trail. Spotted him. He looked kind of odd, but I thought he was dressed in a costume. Neighbor Nancy Blott told Box 25, it's kind of upsetting, especially if you're walking alone. I just don't understand what goes through someone's head to do that. Christopher Labella told the station, I really hope this guy gets the help he needs. As prosecutors continued to read the allegations to court, Lux fainted and was treated before the proceedings resumed, according to Boston 25. The court resumed later in the afternoon. The judge ordered Lux to undergo a mental health evaluation at Bridgewater State Hospital. Yeah, if he's fainting, that means maybe he's not eating or something like that. He hasn't been eating since he got to jail or, get caught. So, yeah, you clearly mentally ill. And like I said, he has absolutely zero game. It's never occurred to me. It's like, how do I get a girl? Let's see, she works at the parks department. What is in a park? Mimes! All right, let's do this last story and we'll get out of here. Man who allegedly rode naked atop a moving locomotive busted after bizarre train stunt. And given the trophy of the baddest ass dude of the year, Arizona suspect faces felony and misdemeanor charges after witnesses reported the wild ride. See a train going by? You're sitting at a stoplight and... Did I see that? Did I see that right? And other drivers looking at each other. What was that? Should we call the cops? All right. He boarded the train, but his clothes stayed behind. Yeah, I guess they do like a hook sentence. An Arizona man was arrested after authorities said he allegedly broke into a Union Pacific locomotive and surfed atop the moving train in the nude as it traveled through northeastern Colorado, leaving stunned witnesses watching the bizarre ride before deputies took him into custody Thursday. The Sedgwick County Sheriff's Office identified the suspect as Daniel Rain Balance. Tell me his name didn't play a factor. Okay, he's of Quartzsite, Arizona. Oh, I wonder did they mine something there in that place? I don't know. He alleged he broke a window to enter the locomotive before climbing onto a roof while the train was moving. Fair jumping. Shucks. Balance faces felony and misdemeanor charges after the incident, authorities said. Authorities said witnesses reported seeing Balance riding naked atop the locomotive before deputies arrested him. The sheriff's office later shared the mugshot alongside a tongue-in-cheek Facebook post about the arrest. Quote, for those of you who had the unfortunate experience of seeing this gentleman surfing naked atop a moving locomotive yesterday, I want you to know that he was arrested on felony and misdemeanor charges, the sheriff's office wrote. According to the sheriff's office, Balance later told deputies that he loved vodka, beer, and playing the banjo. Daniel expressed his love of vodka, beer, and playing the banjo, the agency joked. Unfortunately, we had to separate him from those loves and the train ride. Instead, Daniel is spending some time and all expenses paid stay in jail where he is presumed innocent until proven guilty. Balance was booked into the Sedgwick County Jail on felony and misdemeanor charges. Court records, what are the charges? The charges aren't immediately available. We'll figure it out. It's a misdemeanor and a felony, we think. We'll find one. KDVR reported Balance allegedly broke a window to gain entry to the Union Pacific locomotive before climbing on the moving train. Authorities have not publicly disclosed what prompted the incident or whether anyone aboard the locomotive was injured. I wonder if he gave us any clues. Well, I was at home playing the banjo, drinking vodka and beer, and I heard the train in the distance. Aha! I have an idea. Yeah, legendary move. I don't know if it's worth getting a felony for. But the reason why it is a crime and it should be crime and you should be arrested is because that's incredibly dangerous, dude. Incredibly dangerous. And why couldn't you pay? Like, I think the misdemeanor might be not paying for the ride, and the felony could be, I don't know, public danger, or I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, this tarps off thing at the baseball park, I think maybe we need to slow down on that, because it's getting out of hand out here. People taking their clothes off. Even the mimes are taking their clothes off. Anyway, It's going to be the end of the show. I'll remind you again, I have a Patreon. Go to patreon.com/shockmonkeyradio. Become a patron today. I'd very much appreciate it. Or you can send me money through Cash App. Use the hashtag shockmonkeyradio, all one word. Send me money that way. You can follow me on social media at DNALETSAW. That's the word wasteland spelled backwards on the Twitters. At SLRobbins13 on Instagram. And Shock Monkey Radio Redux on Facebook. This has been Shock Monkey Radio. I'm the Madman. And I love you.
The madman loves you all, from the big to the small. He loves you from a